May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all our hearts be ever pleasing in your sight, O God, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. So one of the things I really liked about starting to preach down here, and I said, is I can ask you all questions now. And I can get closer. I can make you interact. So we've got a little interaction this morning, because we need to have a poll here. As you hear the story of Thomas and doubting Thomas, as we always know him, I want to know, do you think Thomas doubting was a good thing or a bad thing? So we're going to do a show of hands. Everyone who thinks doubting was bad and he should have had faith. Yeah? Doubting was good. This is not how I expected this to go.
Do it again, you'll be better.
No, fine. Often when I've heard, I think my battery's going out now. Often when I've heard doubting Thomas, it's always in a negative light. Almost always, it's he shouldn't have doubted. Why didn't he have faith like the rest of the apostles? Why didn't he listen to the rest of the apostles? And even Jesus, when he meets him, says, "Have you believed because you've seen? There are many who believed who haven't seen me." Always berating Thomas for that doubt and that fear. Thomas has a lot of strikes against him. Also, he wasn't even there when Jesus showed up the first time. We don't know where he was. He's not looking too good at the end of this story. And every time I hear a sermon about this or read a commentary, it's often, well, Thomas should have done better. He shouldn't have doubted the other disciples. He shouldn't have doubted that Christ was risen. Thomas is portrayed as someone we shouldn't be. But quite frankly, we've all had a Thomas moment in our lives, haven't we? We've all had that moment where we doubt, and we fear, and we don't know, and we ask questions. We've all been Thomas, and Thomas offers us a glimpse of humanity in these Gospels. Thomas offers us someone we can identify with. And I would go even further to say that his doubt is a rather healthy thing. Like, to have just blind faith isn't always the best option. To have a little doubt, to be able to ask questions critically of your faith is a good thing. I mean, think about it. When you go to the doctor and you get a bad diagnosis, we don't just trust that one doctor, we go for a second opinion. When something's on sale at a store, we often check the other stores just to be sure we're getting the lowest price. When I go on a trip, I look at all the reviews, not just the good ones. We bring doubt, we bring questioning, we bring criticism into almost every part of our life, and we're going to bring that into our faith. And in fact, it's a good thing to do that. If we go back to Martin Luther, our guy, if he had not questioned the Catholic Church, if he had not questioned the very core of belief that you earn your way into heaven and you earn your way out of purgatory, if Luther hadn't said, wait a minute, I don't think this is how faith works, and I'm going to question how this works. And in that questioning, he was forced to then clarify and bring out a new understanding of faith. But he had to ask the question first. He had to have some doubt first. He had to go, this doesn't feel right. And what he did was invite the church into a gray area that we don't like to live in. We don't like gray areas. We like things to be black and white, which is why we often hear that Thomas was bad, because he doubted. Well, I want to be sure that we know who's in and who's out, what's right and what's wrong. But Martin Luther was huge on this understanding that we don't know everything. That there's going to be gray areas. When Martin Luther talks about communion, We believe that God is present in, above, below, and around the bread and wine. Much like the Catholic Church. But the Catholic Church and other churches also have very specific beliefs about how God gets into that bread and wine. They have rules. Like for the Episcopalians, they want it to be on the little, I forgot the word. The little placemat we have up there. There's a technical word for it. And if it's not on there, then it's not consecrated. That's the Episcopal belief. When Luther was asked, well, how does God get into the bread and wine? But we know God's there. God promised to be there. We're going to live in that gray area. We're going to say we don't know for sure. But God promised to be there.
That's right.
Without doubt, without questioning, we can't live in that gray area. And when we confront problems of the world and problems of our faith, we have to understand that we're always in a gray area. That we don't know everything and we never will. Think about the Bible. How many people have read that book and come up with a different conclusion about what it means? Think about the problems we face in the world. There's been another gun violence shooting. We have problems on our borders. We've got healthcare issues. They're all gray areas. There's no black and white answer, and there's always special circumstances. We have to have doubt. We have to ask questions. We have to be invited in to be critical. Because when we are, then we can learn more, and we can grow more. And we don't become automatons that just say, this is right and this is wrong. Because it's in those questions that we learn and we grow. Doubt can be a tool and a healthy one. As long as we continue to be rooted in our understanding of faith and our core beliefs. That Christ has died and Christ is risen and that God loves us so much. As long as we believe what's put down in that creed we read every Sunday, that gives us a basis to then question and explore and grow and dive in even more deeply. So I encourage you to doubt. I encourage you to come into this place and ask questions. I encourage you to be critical. We need that in the church. Because that's what helps us learn. It helps us grow and deepen our faith and deepen our understanding of God. So be a little more like Thomas.